Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles. I have two very special guests today. Zachary Michael Beutler is a seasoned entrepreneur, franchising expert, and cattleman from Pender, Nebraska. He has built a diverse career spanning business development, franchising, and agriculture. Zachary has played a pivotal role in scaling and investing in franchise concepts, helping business owners achieve sustainable growth. He's either owned, operated, or consulted with 20 plus franchisor concept and awarded over 3,000 territories across the country. Currently, Zachary is the CEO of Jungle Driving LLC, an emerging franchise concept with a mission to saving the lives of teens. And of course, the infamous Jen Wherrell. She's a dynamic entrepreneur and business leader with a passion for driving innovation and growth. A graduate of the University of Central Florida, she's a wife of Chris and a mother of three driven children. She spent a lot of her adult life demonstrating to her children that they too can have it all. As a co-founder of a multi-state franchise, Jen has showcased her ability to scale businesses across regions while building strong, cohesive teams. Currently, she serves as vice president of Jungle Driving Franchise, where she applies her strategic vision and leadership expertise to expand the brand and, of course, empower franchisees to succeed. Suffice it to say, both Zachary and Jen are valued and recognized thought leaders. And I'm lucky enough to have you here with me for a bit of time. So thanks, guys, for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
I think this is going to be fun. I really enjoyed our conversation pre-recording. But I want to ask you both a question that has to do with sort of what drives you, what motivates you. Can you look at your lives for me and can you see some kind of common thread or theme that goes through your life? Maybe it's I don't know, some sage advice you got or an experience you had or a book you read, but is there a common theme in your life, Jen, that you see?
Yeah, a common theme in my life would be to trust your instincts and always let your instincts be your guide. Is that actually probably would be the number one theme for me. Be yourself. So I spent a lot of time not being myself and not trusting the inside of what I was thinking, and that to me would be the number one thing.
I love this theme of trusting your instinct and being yourself, especially in a world where many of us feel like we have to pretend we're more than what we are, right? That we have to puff ourselves up to be accepted, to be appreciated. So I really love that theme and then the trust in your instinct. Has your instinct been pretty solid on your whole life?
Yeah, I mean, I would say always yes, always my instincts are dead on for sure. Have I always followed them?
No.
No, that is the difference I've made probably I would say in the last 8 years or so. But definitely I have a gift of having really strong intuition. So for sure, in life and business, definitely have a strong intuition for sure.
Ah, I can tell you many times in my own life, Jen, where I did not follow through with a gut feeling or that instinct. It always comes back to bite you in the rumpus, right? For
Yeah.
some reason.
I one time do teach my children that since they were little is to trust the guide inside. Always trust the guide inside.
I love it. Thank you for bringing that up. How about you, Zachary? When you look at your life, is there some theme that seems to play itself out?
I think understanding where you want to go and things that you either want to try or do. For myself, I've always had a clear vision of what I wanted. And if I didn't, it's to kind of paint the picture. I always imagine I'm on an island and I can see the another island of who I want to be and what I want to have and things I want to do, and I can see it clear as day. And if I don't swim to that island, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to starve. So it's like I have to scratch the itch. I have to get out there and at least attempt to go the path, or I'm going to lose my mind, my sanity.
So it almost sounds like it becomes a driver or motivator, this picture you have of what that other island is and who you are on that other island. Is it almost obsessive? Meaning if I don't get there, I'm going to go nuts and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And therefore I'm going to be tenacious and committed and take lots of initiative. Is that literally the extreme that it goes?
Yes, I would say so.
And the answer is yes. Mike,
Yeah.
If I don't, if it's not that, it causes issues. It's more, it just can't leave my thoughts. And I'm very much can see it in my brain, see it visually in my brain. And so I just can't get rid of the feeling.
wow. This is fascinating to me because obviously as a behavioral scientist, I study the brain a lot. I do a lot of work in neuroscience. And what you're describing when you have that level of clarity, it kind of draws you towards it. Like you cannot not do it, right? Which is a testament to vision boards and goal setting and truly getting clarity on what it is that you want for your future. Do you
There's a book, Rebecca, that I'll tell you that explained this to me really well. And when I was at a low point, I read it was called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. He talks about manifesting what you would like in detail. And I remember he was describing a house that if you want the house, you should be able to describe the feel of the wood, the smell that it has, down to the smallest detail. And there is something about doing that is truly powerful, is that when you truly focus on the small details, you tend to just, I think you gravitate, or it absorbs you towards that, or moves you towards your goals.
I just want to add that sorry, Rebecca. I was just going to add that I feel like that's a part of why Zach's been able to put together such an incredible team, because he has such a great vision. He's not always great at explaining it right away, but we know that we trust the vision, and eventually we all get what it is. But that drive that he has, comes through in everything that he does, and that is a part of the reason why the team that he's put together is here, because we trust the vision and the drive that he has.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Jen. Some of us are those visionaries, and as long as our values align and our purpose aligns, and the vision is communicated in a way that we can get it, then we become equally committed to having that vision, even though the vision may not have originally been our vision, right? You're trusting through your instincts that you have so finely honed that this is indeed the future, and you're on board to make it happen. So, has there ever been a time, Zachary, where this vision, this idea of something that you have so clear in your head, has it ever driven you to a point of exhaustion? Like you keep working even when you're kind of past your energy level, or does that vision alone fuel that vision?
It's somewhat both, but I can specifically remember a few times where, in one instance, we were growing a bunch of retail locations, and we had this goal of how many and revenue, and I think I was on the road 30 days in a row at a location for 2 days at a time. So I'd visit 15 locations for 2 days each, and I'd be on the road for 30 days straight away from my house. And I remember feeling terrible, like physically, mentally exhausted, but still not, deterred, I guess, which is, again, maybe that's a character flaw.
Yeah. And then for you, Jen, because you're juggling a lot also, growing this business, a bunch of other things that you're involved in the world of franchising as a thought leader, raising children, etc. Do you wake up every day and go, woohoo, I'm ready to make this thing happen? And do you have to be reminded occasionally, or is it now branded on your mind and you know exactly where you're going?
Yeah, I don't know if my character flaw is that I'm always positive and excited, and the more things I have to do, the happier I am. So yeah, no, I get up every morning just excited to see what we're gonna do. I love, love, love that this is something that we're starting. That was part of the appeal to me, was that it was just all new, and we get to go into a space and take something new everywhere. So the more I have to do, the happier I am. So yeah, no, I do wake up positive and excited for the day for sure and what's
I
going to happen.
I admire both of you and this passion that you are displaying, especially for jungle driving, which is your current uh, mission, so to speak, because it is a bigger mission, has a bigger purpose involved. So let me ask you, I'm always curious what makes us who we are. Was there event, a significant pivotal moment in your life that has now defined who you are or taking you a particular direction? And Jen, maybe we start with you.
Sure. So I don't know if you've ever read the book Wild by Cheryl Strayed. And there it was a movie also with I think it was Reese Witherspoon was in it, but there's a quote in that book called that says, I was a bird that never had the balls to be free. And I actually read that after my mom passed away, and I thought to myself, I've always been a bird that never had the balls to be free. And that's when I realized, I need to start doing, time is so short and precious. And so what if you make a mistake? It's better to make the mistakes, make the friendships, do the thing that you're afraid to do and spend the time because, it's limited. Have the balls to be the bird that wants to be free.
Okay, I got to tell you, that just conjured up some images that's going to take a while to get out of my head, but it made the point.
Yes. It's such a good book. It's a really great book. But it reminded me that we were talking about that earlier. So yeah, for sure.
Well, and having lost your parents,
Yeah.
it definitely makes us look at time and how we spend it in a different way, right?
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
definitely we want this bird to fly and to have the courage to fly to destinations that are big and beautiful and unique, right? So how about for you, Zachary? Um, a pivotal moment in your life, something that changed your mindset or your life?
I was a young business owner and I had early success without, not that there wasn't obstacles, but it felt easy, which gave me, I think, a false sense of not confidence per se, but maybe a false sense of safety as far as risk, and ended up losing everything, filing bankruptcy, rock bottom, and I rebuilt myself. But I remember I read that a book called The Success Principles, and in that book, one of the things I remember, it talks about taking ownership of where you are and realizing that you are where you are because of decisions that you have personally made, didn't made, etc. And so you take responsibility for your surroundings. And that was a big, or you take ownership of where you're at and then move forward. And that was a really important time of uh, creating values for myself for the future.
It's amazing how these moments have us reflect, right? Sometimes because we're forced to, in both cases, that's what, just to reflect, to say, is this really the way I should be doing life? And then making decisions, in both cases, based on a book that each of you read, that then had you create your destiny differently, right? And in a way that is more congruent and consistent with the values that you possess, even assessing your own values to a large extent, according to what Zachary is talking about, and Jen, you too, with how you spend your time. So I love this conversation. I want to get into jungle driving, but I do have one question for each of you before we go there. And that is, Jen, when you look at Zachary, can you give me 2 or 3 adjectives or descriptors of how you see Zachary?
Hmm. Um, 2 or 3 adjectives of how I see Zachary Butler. Okay, I would say humorous, um, thoughtful, and intelligent.
I like those. I like those. And what I know of you, Zachary, those are great descriptors. How
She
about
didn't
you?
say any bad words. She didn't say any bad words, so I think we're in a good place.
Do you see how long it took me to say something? No, I'm just kidding. I did bite my tongue for 20 seconds.
And you're not going to share why.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm no, there was nothing. He's a great boss.
And Zachary, how do you see Jen? What would be 3 descriptors of her as a human being and as part of your team?
Uh, Joy would be the first one. No matter what room Jennifer's in, there's an increased level of joy,
Mhm.
uh, which is infectious. Uh, you could say butterfly in similar terms, where you could put Jen in a group of people that don't speak English, and pretty soon they'd be having conversations and having fun together and having a great time. And so there's a way that she can connect with people that's very unusual and interesting.
Yeah,
Uh, and I would say determined. Uh, Jen is a very hard worker, knows what she wants, and doesn't take no for an answer.
that's beautiful. I sense the respect for one another, which is a foundation for a good team, especially when you have a big mission like you have. And the joy part comes through even through a computer screen. So I think
Thank
that's
you.
that's beautiful. Let's talk about jungle driving. Uh, Tell us what it is. Jen, maybe you can start there. What is it? What can we get excited about with this new concept?
Yeah, sure. So Juggle Driving is a driver's education school that does both in classroom and driving. What would you call it? What do you call that? Driver's education in a vehicle, I guess you would say. So that is something that Zach was saying is required or mandatory in 37 states. And so we have both in classroom and in the vehicle. And it's an experience that most other concepts don't have. So it's like, I guess you would say, the Rainforest Cafe kind of experience in the classroom. So definitely some jungle animals in there, more like high leaves. We're trying to do the 5 senses in the classroom. So the sight, the smell, everything that would be in there to get the kids excited about that. And the curriculum is really about, our mission, which is saving teen lives. So the curriculum is based upon ways for the kids to remember things that they're learning in the classroom and take that outside of the classroom. And I don't know, Zach, if you want to add on to it, but which I'm sure
No,
you
that
do.
was great.
Yeah, I thought it was great too. I find this name jungle driving because obviously, especially if you're driving in a city, that feels like you're driving in a jungle. But I also appreciated that you mentioned that this is an experience kind of thing. So it's not, what's the word? Sterile, right? Where I'm learning this and how to answer that question and the rules and those kinds of things where it feels more clinical in
Mhm.
many ways. By making it an experience, I'm assuming the retention is going to be better and therefore the better driving as a consequence of that, correct?
Absolutely.
So, and in today's world where they're going to school and they're sitting at a desk and it does feel a little clinical to have more of a immersion or experience that is interesting and fun, I think is a great idea. So, Zachary, when you were looking at jungle driving, what is it that said, I'm on board? I'm gonna back this, I'm gonna make this happen. What was it about this concept that you decided to get involved in?
Well, number one, I like experience-based services or experience-based businesses. Uh, I'm never scared of competition, but I love the ability to leverage an experience to beat your competition. And so with this space, there is not, to my knowledge, another uh, driver's ed concept that has a team-focused experience. There's not a McDonald's in this space. There's not competitors. There's not a competitor that has a foothold on the market. Like, you look at the burger industry, 90% of the entire market is controlled by 3 to 4 players. Versus this business, it's completely the opposite. There is no national players. So that was a big part. I think my background in franchising and home service brands, what I really learned is that digital advertising has really gotten disrupted since COVID. And so I wanted something that had a more of a sniper-like approach to customer acquisition, where you knew where your customers were at. You could use creative methods to get in front of them, and where there was a service and where that service was really needed. And so in this space, 37 states mandate this service. So kids have to go through it. In states that it's not mandated, they have the option. They either still have to do it, or they have to do another sort of training with the parent or guardian. And so even here in Omaha, the largest competitor is 6 months booked. So you can't even get into their school for 6 months. And so that's a common thread that we hear over and over again. Recession proof, unique name, fantastic story, great financials, low startup costs. And I can keep going, but in franchising, you're looking for, that unicorn concept that as a franchisor, you can duplicate and push across the country and have a consistent training method for. And this was about a week into talking to Fred. I was really curious. When I went up there and met with Fred in person, I was completely hooked. And then I'll tell you, when I did a ride along with Fred, a young lady and her father, that's where the entrepreneurial kind of switched to purpose driven, where we have all of these benefits, but we also do something very great. And what better opportunity to be able to merge both of those missions together.
And Jen, you have bought into that purpose too. In fact, you shared some statistics pre us recording, and what you're up against with children that are teenagers. They're not children anymore. Teenagers that don't have this experience. Can you share some of that for our listeners?
Sure. So actually, I can share direct data from, the University of Michigan, which is where what I'll call the OG location is located up there in Grand Rapids. So the University of Michigan did a study on teens that when they first get their driver's license, within the first 3 years, 80% of them will have an accident. And as a reminder, this is a state that it is mandatory for kids to go through a program like this. So that entails that our competition. So all these other types of driving schools have that requirement, right? So 80% of those students, accidents. With our students, only 20%. So we surveyed 1,000 of our students, and only 20% of them have an accident in the first 3 years. So there's proof that's in the pudding there as far as our curriculum. You mentioned it earlier, fun, entertaining, immersive experience, but also that sticking. And they're transitioning that, I would assume, for their life, for their whole life.
Those statistics are just mind-blowing. I can speak from having raised two children that my daughter had 2 accidents before she was 17. And then a third where she loaned her car to a boyfriend who had an accident. And so I'm going to count it as 3, right? So this is a huge statistic, and these mistakes that they're making can be rectified through some education. So tell me, is there a social component to this also? where these teenagers get to interact with one another. And tell me about that. Is there anything involved with that?
Well, there is. So we're in a classroom, and in that classroom, we're looking at anywhere between 25 and 35 kids. We have a referral system that we've based that we can, students can link to each other to get cash and prizes. There's contests inside the classroom during the different curriculums. And then one of our future projects that we began production on is a gamification system where one student can bring a team in, name the team, and then compete with other students based on how well they drive, and then again earn cash and prizes. And so we're really trying to make it again more of an experience than a hassle or making it fun versus something they know they have to do.
You know, that 14 to 21 is what they call the socialization age. And so by bringing that piece in where they're friendly competition and they're doing this together. Jen, you had something to say about that too.
You know what, when you said that, I automatically had a thought. So, kids are not getting their driver's license at the age when I turned 16. I couldn't get out of that house fast enough to get my driver's license and just be gone. And now kids are waiting 17, 18 years old, so much so that through the research that we've done for Jungle, we've found that even some states are requiring 18 to 21-year-olds to do things like jungle driving, where prior to that, you were 18, you could just go get your driver's license, right? So I think a lot of that has to boils down to the socialization that they're not having. They are, when they're in the car, when I was in the car growing up, my kids laugh at me because, I was like, well, I got places without a phone. I mean, I just knew how to get to my friend's house, and I didn't have a phone with directions, right? None of us did. And the kids now are in the car and they're on their phone. So when it's time for them to get their driver's license, they don't even know how to get anywhere. They don't know how, they don't know how to operate, where we were watching our parents maneuver vehicles. And so that is one thing that I think also about Jungle that is bringing some peace. These kids are in the classroom, they can laugh about it, and they don't have to feel nervous about, maybe they don't understand in this, four white walls with this, our competition, the way they're teaching it. With us, it's, they're joking around, laughing, getting to understand a little bit better the maneuverability part. So you just, that brought the thought to my mind when you said that about the socialization.
You crack me up because I have a granddaughter that will be 16 early May. And of course, she's learning how to drive. And she called me up one night and she's in tears because my daughter had yelled at her because she didn't know how to get from point A to point B. And they'd been there dozens and dozens and dozens of times. But it didn't dawn on me why she didn't know. It was because she's in the front seat or back seat playing on her phone. So she wasn't really paying attention. So this social piece where we can laugh at one another, we can compete with one another, we can learn from one another, we make it fun. We'll make it super, super cool for teenagers, maybe even later than teens in the early 20s that could get some good instruction. So I love this conversation. I could go on forever. I want to make sure if anyone wants to learn more about either of you or about jungle driving, how would they reach you? What's the best way to learn more?
Sure, absolutely. So you can email me at JWHERRELL. So it's just J and my last name at jungledriving.com. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. And Zach, any other contact information you'd like to share?
Jungledriving.com, the website. You can go there, you can get involved if you're looking for a franchise opportunity, get kids involved. We appreciate everyone's support and help us along our journey.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. I like the team that you're building here, Zachary. And Jen, you're contagious. I think you're more than a butterfly. I think you're like a light, kind of moth to flame where you pull people into you. So you're both a butterfly and you're a light. So I think
Thank
that's
you.
a good way to describe this. So final question, Zachary, for you. When you look at the future, are you going to be the mayor of Omaha? What is the future like for Zachary Beutler and for the world of franchising?
Well, for the future, I think for myself, I will live in my ranch with my cattle and my kids and do hard things every day. If I could do anything, I'd be a broke cowboy. Unfortunately, got kids to raise, and so long term, that's my future is to retire on a cattle ranch and do that until I don't wake up. For the rest, uh, I don't think I'll ever stop being involved in franchising in some sort of fashion. There's, I did a post on Facebook one day that I don't know how many different businesses I've built, but getting the first box of like branded and screen printed stuff to wear is just, I mean, it's intoxicating.
Yeah.
The feeling you get, you're so excited. And so starting something new and then getting other people to join in that and then helping them achieve their dreams of business ownership is something that, I think will be there for quite some time.
Beautiful.
You're
All
here.
right. How about you, Jen? What's your future?
I have said for the past 14 years, and I always will, franchising is like the mafia. Once you get out, they reel you back in. So I agree. I mean, if I could retire anywhere, it would be on the beach somewhere. So that's where you will find me. Maybe I'll come visit the ranch and do a little cattling someday, but definitely on the beach somewhere with my family for sure, and just relaxing. Wake up, walk out to the beach, and walk back in, but always with my laptop and never too far away from something like this.
That's the life. So before we close out, both of you mentioned some really great books. Success Principles, is that correct, Zachary? And do you know the author of that?
Jack Canfield, he actually wrote
Oh,
Chicken
Jack Canfield, yes. Of course, he's written several great books, a wonderful leader in the world of business. So Success Principles, and then was it Wild,
Yes,
Jen?
Wild, Wild by Cheryl Strayed, like if you stray away, strayed.
Oh, that might explains the analogy she used.
Yes.
The bird and the
Yes.
balls analogy.
Yeah. Well, you can read it and then we'll talk about it.
All
When
right.
I graduated with a psych degree, I will tell you, Rebecca, and exactly what you do was always my dream to get into. So I'd love to hear more about that offline. So
You
very
got
interesting.
it. Yeah, human behavior is fascinating to me, especially human performance. And there's no better way to measure it and look at it than in franchising, in my opinion. So it's my love too. So thank you both for joining me today, and thank you to our audience. Make sure to like, comment, and share this interview. And of course, we'll see you next week on another episode of the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged.
Thank you.